single 911 call and a CAD report. There was a shooting the night before at Waters Road, and the caller notices that her vehicle window is shot out the day that she's making this call.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a brief 911 call where she's calling to let them know that her car window has been shot out. She doesn't know who shot her car window out, but she's calling the police when she walks outside and notices her vehicle in her driveway with the window shot out from a bullet.
Mm-hmm.
And so the objection was confrontation clause and hearsay because it's not an ongoing emergency. The state's position is it's not a confrontation clause issue because she is not making this phone call for purposes of future prosecution. She doesn't even know who did it or give her thoughts of who might have done it. And in terms of hearsay, although the shooting itself happens prior to her walking out and seeing her window, the state feels that on there's two reasons of a hearsay exception. One being a present sense impression in terms of she walks outside and notices her car window is shattered from a bullet and she calls 911. And two, in her mind, even though her demeanor on the call, which is not dispositive of if it's an excited utterance or not, but seeing your car window shot out is to me something that would reasonably generate some level of excitement in a reasonable person. And so she's very calm on the call in terms of her voice, but the state feels that either a present sense impression and or an excited utterance for calling the police satisfies the hearsay exception. And that's the state's position in terms of the 911 audio, Your Honor.
Okay, and then is the Waters Road shooting, there's other evidence of that, right?
So, Your Honor, there's multiple shootings at that address.
Okay, the Waters Road shooting from March 12th, 2022.
Yes, Your Honor. And so this 911 call and her CAD report, when she calls to report her window being shot, is the court asking if we're going to call the responding officer who went to examine her car or?
No, I mean, the evidence is in or is going to be in that there was a shooting at Waters Road on March 12th, 2023. I guess I'm wondering, because of the length of this trial already, and it's apparent, I mean, we're going to have to talk about how much longer y'all think this is going to take. But what does it add, I guess, that somebody else's window got shot out?
So Your Honor, this is all intimately wrapped into the Shamel Drinks murder, where Mr. Ford and Mr. McMiller are murdered by who YSL believes is YFN members, if gang members, the same group in 2022 that's tethered to Donovan Thomas's group in 2015 in the murder we're on currently. And what the wiretaps we played earlier, where there was conversation, and by earlier I mean a couple weeks ago, where there was guns in the attic, when they're all hiding and they're running outside, and we played that is Waters Road. So there's a number of shootings that we believe was from YFN at YSL. And so this 911 call is a innocent victim of that in terms of not the intended target whose window is shot out and calls police. And her, I believe, either boyfriend or husband, Mr. Whetstone, is going to be a witness we will be calling. So the state wanted to, this chronological or timeline is important. It's a brief 911 call, and there's obviously an accompanying CAD report. So the state feels that it's relevant for the jury because they need to understand the sequence of events in terms of the back and forth shooting and what transpires.
Okay, but do they need to know that somebody who had their car parked on the street or wherever it was parked, a stray bullet hit them?
It's right.
It hit their car, not them, their car.
So, Your Honor, in terms of the relevancy and the low legal standard of it.
I'm not saying it's not relevant. Do you need it?
The state believes we do, and it's.
Okay, y'all are going to have to start picking some stuff that you just, I mean, this case can't go on forever. It feels like it's going on forever, but there's got to be something that y'all can say, you know what, I think we ought to be able to prove our case without that. And this kind of seems like one of those things. And I know that there's not, there may or may not, well, I think there's just kind of a standing cumulative waste of time objection by the defense. But I as the court, trying to the extent possible, manage this litigation, am raising that sua sponte to the extent that there's not a defense objection. Is this something that, I mean, even whomever, the boyfriend or the husband coming in to testify to it, I mean, if you are establishing the Waters Road shooting anyway, which you are.
Yes, Your Honor.
It just doesn't seem like this is really necessary.
Your Honor, I understand I'm struggling for a response because in terms of it's difficult for me to say what is necessary versus, what is relevant and admissible in terms of, and useful for the jury in making their decision. What is necessary in a case is a hard question to answer.
I know.
And so the state Ms. Latner's is testifying. When this comes up, Ms. Latner's will be addressing a number of 911 calls and CAD reports that all tether and are connected with this timeline of events. And so the state felt that in terms of brevity or this short 911 call and CAD report anchors the timeline for the jury and is helpful. The state's not intending on calling the officer who responded to check her window.
Good. Okay.
And so the state felt that this was I believe Ms. Latner's could testify about these two items in probably under 5 minutes.
She probably can, but 5 minutes here and 5 minutes there and 10 minutes the other place. If she's already going to be testifying to 911 calls that came in closer to time, is she going to be doing that?
She's going to be handling a number of 911 calls and CADs, Your Honor, that tether both the Shamel Drinks murder, the murder of Mr. Ford and Mr. McMiller, and the multiple shootings at Waters Road, one of which this is a 911 call in response.
So is there going to be other evidence that either has come in or will come in that this shooting at Waters Road occurred on March 12th of 2022?
One brief moment, Your Honor.
Okay.
So, Your Honor, currently, because the state intended to play this CAD at 911 call, we are not calling other witnesses to discuss this specific day.
Which is the day after?
March 12th, correct, Your Honor. So currently, in terms of the state's witness list and what the state intended to introduce, this 911 in CAD.
This is the way y'all are introducing that the shooting occurred at Waters Road on March 12th?
There's two different shootings.
And there's two different shootings, Your Honor, but in terms of her
When's
car
the
window
other
being
shooting?
shot out, March 16th.
Okay, so let's not worry about that one. March 12th. This is the only way that y'all are establishing a shooting at Waters Road on March 12th? Yes or no?
Yes, Your Honor. The state can call other witnesses or evidence about that shooting, but we intended to call and introduce this CAD report 911 currently.
I understand that y'all want to. Was that the only evidence that y'all were going to put up that this occurred on March 12th? Was this 911 call and boyfriend or husband and the discovery that on March 13th, this window was shot out? That's how y'all are going to establish a shooting on March 12th?
In order to cut down witnesses, Your Honor, we have other witnesses. We could call Ms. Zachary, we could call the responding officer, but in order to shorten we get the complaint that we need to shorten the case. And so what we're trying to do is there's a 911 call. There's 2 911 calls. There's a 911 call from March 12th.
Okay, are you planning to introduce that?
Yes, that's the
Okay.
day before.
Okay,
Then-
but after the shooting occurs, correct?
The 911 calls as the shooting occurs, the woman is in her house and she said, they're shooting down my street.
Okay,
Yes.
so why isn't that enough?
Because this was the further evidence of that. So that's why we're playing the 2 911 calls, because the March 12th call, right, there shows that she called, the first caller never went outside. All she says is there's shots fired. On March 13th, when that witness goes outside, she sees that her car has been riddled by bullets. Now there's additional evidence that Ms. Zachary would bring in that her daughter heard the gunshots the night before, but we're not bringing that in. So what we're trying to do is tie in the first call from March 12th and then the call from March 13th. There's more evidence, but we're trying to, as best, get in what is relevant to establish that there was a shooting. Again, all of these shootings are in response to what happens in February with Wyatt and Lucci getting stabbed.
Is it riddled with bullets?
When you say, excuse me, maybe I shouldn't say riddled with bullets, but there are bullet holes in her vehicle.
How many?
I believe there's one to her vehicle. Your
Okay,
Honor.
y'all can, no. Just, no,